ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. In this Vibhuti Yoga, we are going to see numerous glories of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who here is one with the Supreme Godhead. Vaishnavas see the Supreme Godhead as Vishnu or Vishnu's avatars. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Balarama, and Kalki. Shaivas see the same Supreme Godhead as Shiva. And those who are devoted to Devi, Mother Goddess, Divine Mother, see the same Supreme Godhead as Devi, and so on. All roads lead to Rome, goes the old saying, and in Sanatana Dharma, we believe that all these ways of looking at God lead to the same highest wisdom, liberating us from the shackles of egoistic existence. As we saw, the 10th chapter began with Sri Krishna himself saying, O mighty armed one, listen to me more. I shall tell you my greatness, knowing which you will truly be blessed. And he described himself as the source of everything in this universe. And then he praised people who get a certain intuitive understanding of God and His glory. And as he said in the 7th verse, whoever knows the Mahima, Vibhuti of the Lord gets united with a certain unshakable spiritual stature, avikampena yogena yujyate, unshakable. As the 6th chapter has said, one is not disturbed even by grave adversity. Dukkhena guruna api na vichalyate. We saw the verses 7, 8 and 6, 7 and 8 rather in the last class. In the 8th, Sri Krishna again said, please know me as the Prabhava, as the source where everything arises. And those who know me in this way, they undergo a radical transformation. In spirituality, there is often a discussion, and that discussion many times is an endless discussion. There are members of one camp who insist on chitta shuddhi, on vasanakshaya, on developing values like viveka, vairagya, etc. in them. They say, unless you do this, you have no chance of gaining the highest truth. Therefore, come here, join our worship, join our service activities, and so on. Then there is the second camp which says enough is enough, and if you keep doing this karma, this upasana, you will never rise above them. Enough of plowing, now sow the seeds, is another camp. Now, in higher bhakti and in higher jnana, it is the second camp. In the jnana, it is said, just be the witness. Just know yourself to be this nirvikara Atma. Don't worry about vasana kshaya. Other day we had a webinar on vasanas and vasana kshaya by Mahamandaleshwar Abhishek Chaitanya Giri. And one of the participants asked a question of that kind. If we are guided by a competent guru and we are able to see that I am that pure Satchit where vasanas have no place, no room, then is it necessary to go on practicing exercises, meaning karma and upasana, for vasanakshaya? And the Swamiji who was presenting ably answered. He said, if there is the adhikara for the higher exercise, then you may certainly forget about vasanakshaya. Let there be any vasana in you, but you have seen the truth. The Guru has made you see how vasanas don't apply to you. You are not something where vasanas can ever come and reside. So if you have understood that higher teaching, then you are someone with a greater fitness, greater eligibility, greater adhikara. But people with that adhikara are very less. However, the second camp would generally argue that to think that we don't have adhikara itself is an impediment. Therefore, believe in yourself and wake up from this dream without saying, I need to prepare to wake up. So it is a much debated topic. Whether we judge ourselves as not yet ready or we judge others as not fit, that judgment is questioned. As regards others, it may be asked, who are you to judge them? Who are you to label them as not yet competent? They may be more advanced than you are. In this way, the second camp would argue. The question of judging oneself also is not really all that simple. Why do you think you are not fit? That thought, I am not fit, can be the obstacle. So this debate is quite hard. Finally, everyone has to work out the right sadhana for themselves. So it is said here in the Gita, these people who understand God to be the source of everything, they worship Him. They sing praise of Him with great joy. Therefore, such people who find tremendous delight in worshipping, adoring, or praising God are now described in a few verses by Sri Krishna. If in fact he talks about how they so much enjoy practices involving praise of God, adoration of God, he also says in the coming three verses that such people will definitely be rewarded. They will be rewarded by God with very clear understanding of the pure self. A word is used, Buddhi Yoga. So let's see what these verses 9, 10, and 11 talk about. Here we have Sri Krishna continuing, and Bhagavan Sri Krishna says how he blesses the advanced devotees. Let me say once more, both in jnana and in bhakti, there is a leap. There is an unbelievable leap to a higher level, and that is what Sri Krishna draws our attention to. So if we see the ninth verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, for these people, the description that goes well with them is Macchitta Madgata Pranaha Bodhayantah Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. They are Macchitta. This Bahuvrihi Samasa means those whose minds are fixed in me. Lord Krishna is talking. Therefore, those whose heart is all the time in Sri Krishna. Madgata pranaha, their living is meant for adoring Sri Krishna. You ask them, what's the purpose of your staying alive? Why don't you die? They will smile and say, I am living just to enjoy contemplation on Sri Krishna. I have no other purpose. I am not worshipping Sri Krishna for wealth or knowledge or to be relieved of some suffering. In the seventh chapter, we had those four kinds of devotees. Artaha, Jijnasuhu, Artharti, Nanicha. And here we are talking about Nani Bhaktas. That intuitive understanding, that unique insight has taken these people to an unbelievably higher plane of consciousness. Macchittaha Madgata Prana. Is it the case with most of us? No. We may have some bhakti, we may believe in God, we may be into some study, some meditation, but most of the time we are so worried about some worldly issue. Even when we are into sadhana, at the back of our mind, we think, once I have my own house, once I clear all my loans, once I discharge my responsibilities, then I will be able to wholeheartedly adore God. But in the case of these advanced devotees, they too have financial problems, they too have responsibilities in the eyes of others at least, but from their own angle of view, nothing matters. They say God will take care of everything. Others get irritated. Sometimes the family members, husband and children, or if it's a man, his wife and children, are fed up of this person. All this I am saying God will take care of our needs. Where is God? When is He coming? In this way they ask. Whereas this advanced devotee feels the presence of God everywhere, in everything. This morning I was reading Papa Ramdas' story when Papa Ramdas and a certain other sadhu were traveling by train somewhere. A Christian ticket inspector stopped them, asked for their tickets, and when they said that they don't have tickets, he made them get down. And he also got down and he asked them a number of questions. The other sadhu got very annoyed and irritated. But Ramdas very patiently answered all the questions of that inspector, who apparently was Christian. Maybe he was wearing some necklace with a cross as the pendant. But eventually, that ticket inspector went one step further. He said, show me your bag. What are you carrying in your bag? Show me this, show me that. And, though they were embarrassed, Why should he look into our bags? We have got down from the train. He should let us go now. But he was asking with some authority. They took out things from their bags. There was some copper vessel, and the inspector said with some anger, "Except this copper vessel, you don't have anything worth anything. All are worthless. This also is not much, but it has some worth." And again, he saw one more little bundle in the bag of Ramdas. "Show me that bundle. What is in it?" And Ramdas opened that bundle. Maybe it was some things wrapped in some cloth. He opened it. And the inspector was surprised, along with some two other books, Bhagavad Geetā or some Purana. There was the Bible, the New Testament. And the inspector was puzzled. "Of what use is this to you?" Papa Ramdas said in a very naive manner, "For me, all forms of God are equally acceptable. I read the New Testament for certain guidance, which comes from Christ Himself." The inspector said, Do you believe in Christ? You are a Hindu, right?" Ramdas said, "I believe in Christ also. Christ also is a messenger of God." So that inspector was very surprised. He was quiet for a minute or two. Then it seems he said to both Ramdas and this companion, a sadhu who was always impatient, always fretting and fuming at any discomfort, any inconvenience, but Ramdas was so patient. The Christian inspector said, "Okay, now in another 10 minutes, one more train is coming. I will help you get in and take proper seats." So the next train came. The same inspector who had made them get down earlier helps them get in and ensures that they get good seats. And this other sadhu was surprised how everything turned 180 degrees. But Ramadas says, "I always knew Ram, meaning the Supreme God, will take care of us." See how advanced devotees have somehow come upon that state of surrender. Thus, Macchittaha, Madgata Pranaha, Parasparam Bodayantaha. They talk to each other. Sometimes they clarify on philosophical principles. And then the next word is Kathayantaha. Some other times they actually narrate or describe the Vibhuti, Vaibhava, or Mahima of God. In this way, even as they serve others, talking about God, in the first place, Tushyanti, they feel extremely content and happy. Ramanticha. In today's Sanskrit, Ram doesn't become Ramanti. It is Atmanepadi, we say, Ramante. But at several places in Bhagavad Gita, Atmanepadi roots are used in forms which belong to Parasmaipadi roots. Parasmaipadi goes Patati, Patataha, Patanti. If it is an Atmanepadi root, Labhate, Labhete, Labhante. So it should have been Ramante here. And Vedavyasa doesn't care. He puts it as Ramanti because in the second and fourth quarters of the shloka in Anushtup, we have the seventh letter. It has to be Guru. It has to be Lagu. Seventh letter. If you write Ramante, that Te would be Guru. The seventh letter in second and fourth quarters has to be Lagu. So Vyasa makes a metrical adjustment in Chandas. But if you say, but Ram doesn't become Ramante, Vyasa would smile. And he is a Maharashi. He has got certain special liberties. We always quote the line in Julius Caesar, where of Shakespeare, where Mark Antony shows the wound caused in Caesar's body by no less a person than Brutus, showing that wound, showing that injury made by Brutus, who was supposed to be a very pious and wise man. Mark Antony, that famous speech says, "This is the most unkindest cut of all." Either you say most unkind or you say unkindest. You cannot use double superlatives. But knowingly, please do not think Shakespeare at places made grammatical mistakes. No, he knew. According to strict grammar, you cannot have two superlatives, most as well as unkindest. But he deliberately makes Mark Antony call that wound the most unkindest cut of all. So authors like Shakespeare, here the author Vedavyasa, have the liberty. At places they break grammar rules. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. How blessed these devotees are who have a certain intuitive grasp. And it is so steady all through 24 hours. Whenever they are awake, they feel the presence of God. God is shaping their life. God is holding their hand and leading them forward. That's the feeling they have. Therefore, Tushyanti cha, Ramanti cha. In a simple commentary, Sri Shankaracharya says, Machchittaha Mai Chittam Yesham Te Machchitta. Those whose heart is given to God. Chitta here is that loving mind. Madgata Pranaha. Mamgataha Pranaha Chakshuradayaha. Some places the word prana can stand for indriyas, eyes, ears, nose, and so on. So Madgata Pranaha means Madgata Indriyaha. Those people who are marked by their indriyas, eyes, ears, nose, and so on, all eager to see God's form, hear about God, smell the prasad of a puja of God, and so on. Chakshuradeha prana, yesham te madgata prana, mai upasamhrita karana ityartha. Adi Shankaracharya prefers to give a Jnana Yoga interpretation, not so much about puja of God seen in an idol, in a statue, and so on, seeing God outside. He says, when all your indriyas are offered to God, what is meant is the indriyas are made to turn inward. Upasamhar. Normally they go outward. Here they are made to turn inward, and indriyas turning inward also is meant by madgata prana. Upasamhrita karana ityartha. Athava, Bhashyakara gives a second meaning. Madgata pranaha can mean madgata jivanaha. Those who know a little grammar might get a doubt in all these places. Karana is neuter. Karanam, karane, karanani. How did it become upasamrita karanaha? Jivana also is a neuter word. Jivanam, jivane, jivanani. But Shankara Bhāshya has this word madgata jivanaha. So here we say, whenever a neuter word ending in a becomes part of a Bahuvrihi compound, the compound qualifies a masculine word. Here it is Janaha, Bhaktaha. Therefore, those whose Jivana is dedicated to God. Madgatam Jivanam. When you do this Vigraha Vakya, when you explain the Samasa, you have to honor the gender of the word Jivana, which is neuter. Madgatam Jivanam Yesham Te. Those people whose life, Jivanam, is offered to God. But then the compound takes the endings, case endings, to correspond to the masculine word which the compound now qualifies. The word Janaha is masculine. Therefore, Madgata Jivanaha Janaha Ityartha. Bodayantaha Avagamayantaha. Avagam, Ava and Gam. Avagachati means understand. But Avagamayati is causal. You make another person understand. So they sit together, let us say, these advanced devotees, and in no time you find them exchanging notes. You find sometimes A clarifies on a certain matter to B, and another time B is making everything clear with respect to another matter to A. So this is teaching. Bodayantaha, avagamayantaha, parasparam, anyonyam, one doing it to another. Then there is the word kathayantascha. Kat kathayati means to narrate. They talk about, they narrate, they describe the glories of Bhagavan, such as Nana Bala Virya, infinite knowledge, infinite strength, and infinite power. Nana Bala Viryaha Virya Adi Dharmaihi Vishishtam Mam. Sri Krishna says, I am endowed with all those qualities, with all those desirable criteria, desirable factors. And these devotees, how nice, are on that level. Therefore, referring once more to that idea, becoming fit, for which Vasana Kshaya is needed, and another group of people who are already fit. They just need to dwell on the Vedanta statements and they'll find that all error goes away. So, Tushyanti Paritosham Upayanti. They attain Paritosha, all round happiness. Ramanti cha Ratim Prapnuvanti. Rati here is enjoyment. Priti. Priya Sangatya Iva. When you meet someone who is very dear to you, preferably after a long time, sometimes it can be by surprise also. Somewhere you go far away, and there somebody very close to you who is also another direction very far, you find that person. He is also there. And that is so heartening. So, Ratim Prapnoyanti Priya Sangatya. Priya Sangati. Meeting, coming across people who are very, very dear to us. Many a place, you go to some tourist place, maybe you go to Paris, you are seeing the Eiffel Tower, and just you turn your face, see in another direction, your own neighbors in Hyderabad are there too. You thought, well, you had gone and hardly anybody else would be there. But you are from Hyderabad and the whole family next door also has come to Paris. Then you laugh at each other, smile at each other, you smile at each other, and then laugh over this wonderful incident and maybe have a meal together, and then they part. They go in their direction, you go in your direction. Priya Sangatya, Sangati is Sangama, coming together. Thus, Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha is explained. We go now to the next shloka, namely the 10th one. In the 10th shloka, ये यथोक्तैः प्रकारैः भजन्ते मां भक्ताः सन्तः. Yeah. So the earlier verse said, tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. Earlier verses also said, bhajante priti purvakam, and so on. So bhajanti is mentioned in the 8th verse itself, I guess, see previously. So iti matva bhajante ma. So bhajana doesn't have to mean singing a song, etc. That's also one form of bhajana. Bhaj is a very wide word. It means lovingly relating to God, to another person, and so on. The word bhaj dhatu is involved in the formation of the word bhakti also. When there is intense love for God, that is called bhakti. So here Shankaracharya will explain this verse too. Before that, Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha. The connection says, ये यथोक्तैः प्रकारैः भजन्ते मां भक्ताः सन्तः. About them, Sri Krishna says, तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयान्ति ते. So they initially are filled with devotion. They don't know the technicalities. They don't know how their own true nature is one with the true nature of God. How their true nature has no form of any suffering. They don't know about Atma. They are highly taken in by God. However, it is God who gives them the intellectual grasp also. It is said, Buddhi Yogam Dadami. To those who are constantly united with me, day and night they adore me. And Priti Purvakam Bhajatam. To those who worship out of tremendous Priti, love. To them, he says, I give Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga, Shankaracharya says, is the understanding of Tattvamasi and such Mahavakyas. Samyak Darshana. So rather than Ishvara Darshana, vision of God, or coming face to face with God, the Jnana Yoga language is you come face to face with your own true nature, which is completely free of any dukkha, any suffering. So, Priti Purvakam, not seeking anything else, but out of happiness, out of joy. With that joy in their heart, they worship God. Without any hope or hoping for some reward, some benefit, even things or even positions and so on. Shankaracharya explains now, Tesham satatayuktanam nitya abhiyuktanam synonym. Nivritta sarva bahya eshananam. See, Shankaracharya lifts us to a higher level with precise language. When you are truly in love with God, then you are all set to surrender to God. Definitely one thing will happen. Pursuing wealth and fame, pursuing some name, pursuing some kind of appreciation from the whole world, or if not the whole world, from your neighborhood, from your colleagues, or at home, from your spouse. I want my spouse to appreciate me, adore me, value me endlessly. One wishes. But in reality, spouses have so much of difference of opinion. Many a time, there is no such true preeti. So, Shankaracharya says, Nivritta Sarva Bhahyeshara. In true Vairagya, one doesn't have anything against others, but he doesn't seek anything more. There was a Buddhist ashram on the east coast of America. I did not go, I read about that place. And right there outside there is a board. And the board says, no donation expected. But the second line is interesting. No donation refused. So people entering that monastery were feeling very comfortable. Okay, they are not asking us for money. No donation expected. But if we give, it seems they will take. No donation refused. So likewise here, Nivratta Bahya Eshananam. If these advanced devotees get some very comfortable place to stay at, very nice cars to go in, very delicious and nutritious food to eat, they welcome it. But they have risen to such heights of spiritual perfection that sometimes when neither the place to stay at nor the food given to them to eat is of good standard, it pinches them a little, but quickly they actually rise above it. They say this is God's will. The other day we were given five-star conveniences. Today we are served rather foul food in a bad plate, and the place is not clean. They see, they understand. So I say they would have a little pinch, but next moment they are at peace with it. So that can happen only if you are nivratta sarva bahya eshana. Eshana is pursuits, pursuing so many things. Therefore, in the context of the topic I raised a while ago, Vasana Akshaya, the second camp would say even pursuing Vasana Akshaya is a waste of time. Let go of self-improvement. Let go of your idea of becoming a better person, better human. Just love God. Everything else happens. Stay in love of God. 9 out of 10 people who try this, yes, they say, all right, we will not go after money or power. So they do let go of that pursuit. But alas, they don't have enough love for God without going to any office, without trying to take another job, without doing anything, without lifting a blade of grass for others. Their idea was to do more sadhana, just to sit and lovingly think of God. But alas, 9 out of 10, having freed themselves of responsibilities, sleep more, go on munching something or the other, even pursue maybe some pleasure outside. A new movie has come. Emergency, I believe 3 or 4 days ago, new movie was released in India. Emergency. The mid 1970s, Indira Gandhi had imposed national emergency. All the bright side of it, all the dark side of it is all apparently given in that movie. So you were working before, and then you said, I want to do spiritual sadhana. I gave up my job. Oh, first you are impressed. But then you find that this person who wanted to do spiritual practices is at the cinema theater every time a new movie comes. And not just the movie, he is enjoying ice cream, he is enjoying popcorn, he is laughing. And you overhear him making some jokes about somebody. What is this? Then why did he give up his job? Why did he go and become a member of some spiritual organization? All that is Aramba Shuratva. Aramba means beginning. Shuratva means being a hero. You are a hero for a little while, then you become almost zero. All right. We are not talking of that kind of people. We are talking of people who actually have inside them tremendous love of God. That won't go just because some temptations come around you. So they worship. And why do they worship? Priti Purvakam, says the shloka. Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. Bhagavan Bhashyakara, that is Sri Shankaracharya, rightly says Priti is Sneha, love, affection, special feeling, and so on. Priti Purvakam, Pritihi Sneha, Tat Purvakam Mam Bhajatam. Ityartha. So to such people who worship God with such a loving mind, what does God give? Dadami, Prayachami, I give to them Buddhi Yoga. And look at the definition Sri Shankaracharya gives. Buddhi Yoga, first of all, Buddhi is Samyak Darshanam. To see something as it is. Generally, we see the world through the lenses of likes and dislikes. The moment we hear a name, the moment we get some idea of the association of somebody, of some organization with something that you don't approve of, then you withdraw. Generally, that kind of ragadvesha, I like this person and I will give any number of hours to this person. I don't like that other person. I don't want to be with him even for a minute. I'll make some pretext, some excuse and walk away. Whereas that was the ordinary level. Extraordinary level, what happens is Samyak Darshanam. You see all as Brahman itself. You see everybody, not through likes and dislikes, but through an extraordinary vision. You see Brahman. Brahma is in them. God is in them. Samyak Darshanam. Mat Tattva Vishayam. It is related to the inner truth of Sri Krishna. So he is talking as Sri Krishna, but giving a hint that I am way beyond this particular Krishna avatara. Tesham buddhi yogena samyak darshana lakshanena. Next sentence is Tena yogaha buddhi yogaha tam buddhi yogam. This I mentioned before. Buddhi yoga is samyak darshana lakshanaha yoga. It is marked by beholding the undivided truth, even as you are dealing with divisions. You are eating, something is eaten. There's a division of subject and object. But inside them, they have an understanding. All these are one without any dividing line. The coffee I drink is also Brahman. I who is drinking is also Brahman. The cup is Brahman. The saucer is Brahman. The table on which you keep it on. Everything is Brahman. That is Samyak Darshan. Samyak literally means right or rightly. Seeing rightly. That is Buddhi Yoga. Upayanti, Pratipadyante. Who are those? Ye Machittattvadi Prakaraihi. Machittattvadi Prakaraihi. Bhajante. Mam Bhajan. Therefore, what is meant by those worship me, those come to me, is such people who have steady devotion, seeking nothing for them as a person in the town. So, Acharya Shankara helps us understand each word much better. Now we go and we quickly read the next verse, which is 11th verse. Connecting us to that shloka, Bhashyakara says, Kimartam kasyavad त्वत् प्राप्ति प्रतिबंध हेतो हो नाशः बुद्धि योगम तेषाम तत्वद्भक्तानां ददासि. Oh Sri Krishna, answer a question or a doubt of ours. Kimartam dadasi? Why do you give them buddhi yoga? Why do you give them samyak darshana, right seeing? Answer to that is the shloka 11. Teshamevanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha नाशयामि आत्मभावस्थः ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. Through that buddhi yoga, through that ability to see the self, what happens is all their ignorance gets burnt. See the second half of the shloka. Nashayami. I burn, I destroy, I remove, I bring to an end. What? The Ajnanajam Tamaha. There is in all of us certain laziness, certain confusion, certain lack of clarity about what life is, so on. All that is Tamaha, and that is destroyed. Nashayami Atma Bhavastaha Jnanadipena Bhaswata. So I myself shine in their hearts as the sun, Surya, the sun of wisdom. Jnanam eva Surya, Jnana Surya. Jnana Deepena Bhaswata, says the shloka. Teshameva Anukampartam. Out of great compassion and love. Ajnanajam Tamaha Nashayami Atmabhavastaha. God's grace is at its peak when the devotee receiving that grace feels he is one with God. He is identical, or he shares the same essential nature with God. Atma Bhavastha. Atma Bhava, Bhagavan blesses you, and then you will have an understanding that you too are one with Bhagavan. That is Advaita. Shankaracharya's Bhāshya, we shall see quickly. Teshameva katam nu nama shreyas syat. How does the true good, the ultimate good, shreyas, how does it come to them? Iti anukampatam daya heto ajnanajam paviveng natam ajnanajam natam mitya pratyarakshanam mohandakaram tamaha nashaya. I cause right seeing to burn brightly in them, and I cause their tamaha, darkness, to go away. My blessings thus are twofold. Asat will leave you, Sat will enter you. The rising of Sattva is how, see for example the 14th chapter, Sattve Sanjayate Jnanam. The highest wisdom arises when there is a lot of Sattva. Atma Bhavastaha Antakaranaya. So here Atma Bhava, Atmanaha Bhava, Antakaranashaya. So that where even Antakarana, mind, body, etc., rest and go. They come and go, the basis remains the same. Mohandakaram, Atmabhavastaha, Atmanaha Bhavaha, Antakaranashaya, Tasminneva Sthita San. Jnanadipena Viveka Pratyarupena. Towards the end of the shloka it is said, Jnanadipena Bhaswata. With the light, with the lamp of light, or Deepa is source of light, of the nature of Jnana, Jnana Deepena, Viveka Pratyaya Rupena. When we look back, we made many mistakes because we could not distinguish right from wrong. But now, as consciousness rises higher, we clearly see Viveka. We distinguish what is right and what is wrong. We do what is right. We let go of what is wrong. So Sri Krishna lives, comes and dwells in our bosom. Tasminneva sthitah san. Jnana-deepena viveka-pratyarupena bhakti-prasada sneha abhishiktena. With the oil, here sneha means oil. With the oil of prasada, prasada can mean what you receive after a puja. Prasada can mean prasannata. Your mind, because of bhakti, becomes so prasanna, so peaceful. And then so much more of love of God rises from that heart. Madbhavana abhinivesha vateritena. Shankaracharya expands that analogy. If wisdom is compared with a lamp burning, then the oil for that is bhakti, and then the air, some airflow is required. If there is no air, no oxygen, as you know, flames get put out. So, mad bhavana avivesha vata iritena. If you and I in our sadhana again and again bring thought of God, then that becomes a favorable breeze, boosting up the flame of that lamp. Then you need a bati. Bati means a wick. You need a wick which has to be lit up. Brahmacharya, the sadhana samskara, vat prajna vartina. So, vat here means having. Such understanding which has natural brahmacharya and other internal qualities. Virakta antakarana adharena. Where is this lamp placed? If a lamp is placed on at some edge and a lizard comes and pushes it, the lamp will fall. The lamp has to be placed on a stable platform. Yes, virakta antakarana. If your inner equipment, meaning mind, intellect, and so on, have already let go of attachments to the passing show of the world, then that is adhara. Vishayad vyavritta chitta ragadvesha akalushita nivatapara varakastena. So there is one more dimension of this analogy. Nivata, let's see. It is a room where there are no winds that would put out the fire. So you have the Sanskrit word, Chitta Raga Dvesha Akalushita Nivata Apavarakastena. So the lamp is in a room. Apavaraga apparently means the room. Nivata is without winds. See, little breeze, a little air is necessary to keep it glowing, but more of wind can extinguish it. Therefore, a room with no winds. Nitya pravratta aikagriya dhyana janita samyak darshana bhasvata. Constant meditation. Aikagriya dhyana. Dhyana is meditation. Then that vision remains so steady. Nana deepena. In this way, Shankaracharya feels inspired to go a little more into the analogy how the knowledge acts like a lamp which drives away all rajas and tamas and which uses sattva to bless the person, the sadhaka, you and me, with the highest liberating understanding. Then Arjuna responds. We shall see Arjuna's response in the next class, which is verse number 12 onwards. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.